My name is Bethan Harris. I'm a barrister at Garden Court Chambers. I specialise in housing, community care and court protection. I'm going to talk about Article 5 of the European Convention on Human Rights. This article protects the right to liberty. It sets out the limited circumstances in which a person can be deprived of their liberty and the procedural safeguards where a person is deprived of their liberty. These are that there must be a legal process to authorise the deprivation of liberty and a right to bring your case before a court speedily for a decision on whether the deprivation of liberty is in accordance with the law. The case I'm going to talk about is Re Ex and others 2014 in the Court of Protection. It concerned how Article 5 safeguards should apply to some of the most vulnerable people in our society who are deprived of their liberty as a result of the arrangements for their care. This case followed the big expansion of the concept of deprivation of liberty in light of the decision of the Supreme Court a bit earlier that year in the case of P against Cheshire West and Chester Council. That case decided that people who lack mental capacity to consent to their care because of cognitive impairment or mental disorder of any kind, and whose care involves them needing to be subject to continuous supervision and control, and who are not free to leave the place where they're cared for, are counted as deprived of their liberty within the meaning of Article 5, and therefore they're protected by the safeguards set out in Article 5. We already had and still have the statutory scheme called the DOLS, the Deprivation of Liberty Safeguards, which applies Article 5 safeguards to people in care homes and hospitals. But not much had been said about how those safeguards should be applied to the large number of vulnerable people with high care needs cared for outside of care homes and hospitals. Re Ex was heard by Sir James Mumby, and in it he brought together a number of cases of individuals living in various care settings, different types of supported living, people cared for with care packages in private homes and other care settings. Each individual suffered from a condition that meant that they lacked mental capacity to consent to their care arrangements, for example because of dementia or significant learning disability. They had high care needs, such that they needed a lot of care and monitoring. All or many of their normal daily activities of life had to be done for them, and they were not allowed to leave the place where they were cared for unless escorted or supervised by someone else. The particular case in which I was involved concerned a lady who suffered from dementia, and she had almost all her daily needs met by other people and had to be locked into her accommodation for her own safety. The public body I represented said that these care arrangements meant that she was deprived of her liberty, and so the checks that Article 5 provides should apply in her situation. The ruling the court made in Re Ex laid down a process to implement Article 5 safeguards across all care settings not already covered by DOLS. As a result, we have what is known as the Re Ex procedure, which ensures that highly vulnerable people who lack capacity to consent to their care and who have no or little autonomy because of the type of care they need, in whatever type of care setting they live in, can have their cases reviewed by a court in which their views will be taken into account, and where, if there's doubt about whether those restrictive care arrangements are in their best interests, there'll be a hearing in which their voice will be heard. Eventually, the Re Ex process and DOLS will both be replaced by one statutory scheme called the Liberty Protection Safeguards. To sum up, Article 5 is about protecting liberty and provides procedural safeguards for anyone deprived of their liberty. The 2014 case law I've referred to represents a really useful application of Article 5 to provide for independent scrutiny of the care arrangements for highly dependent and vulnerable people. Thank you.